Little snippet of Greg and I climbing a hill. We actually just passed Delta Junction and we're in this stop and go stuff. So we're not on the Alcan anymore. That was completed. We're on Highway 2, which is part of the Alcan, but Alcan proper terminates at Delta Junction. And then you take the 2 where it's going to bring you into Fairchild Air Force Base, Fort Wainwright, and Fairbanks. But since I have the camera going, I just will give a little dialogue and tell you that Delta Junction is I don't want to say disappointing, but there's not a lot there. There's just not. Go to the visitor center, take your pictures. I went inside, and once again, like every other museum and visitor center, it had the old movie of the Alcan just looping, and I've seen that. That was like the 3rd or 4th time I went into a building and saw it. Obviously I didn't watch the whole thing. I was like, yep, I know what they're going to say. It's worth watching at least once. The thing about Dawson Creek, when you get into Dawson Creek, they have a really nice visitor center. They got the start, that big sign you can take a picture of in the road that Greg and I took a picture at. Then they have the train station museum, and then they have the nature museum. And in their museum, you get an idea of what the Alcan experience is going to be like when you go on it. So you can kind of, plot things out, get a map, see what it's like. It also gives you a glimpse of the past, what it took to build the Alcan, the purpose of the Alcan, the history behind it, challenges of building it, and the evolution of it becoming a popular highway as what it is known today. That's all down at Dawson Creek. So yes, if you start your trip in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, definitely take time to get into the visitor center / museum, get a feel for what you're going to experience. When you conclude your trip up here in Delta Junction, I would recommend, if you're thinking about stopping there for anything, I recommend stopping in Tok, T-O-K, where we were last night. That area has many gas stations, many restaurants, many places to sleep, hotels, motels, campsites, RV sites. Tok is, I believe, off, I want to say the Richardson, I'm not sure, where that meets that intersection. No, not the Richardson, Delta Junction is where the Richardson comes into. But if you decide to get to Delta and finish your trip, you're not going to find a lot. I think I saw one kind of museum off to the side. The restaurants, the ones that we found, we got there early, around 10:30. The restaurants don't open till 11, so there's no place to have breakfast. And one of them didn't open till 4 p.m. And there weren't a lot of restaurants to choose from. And I didn't see any accommodations to speak of, motel, hotel, RV, or campsiting. Maybe if you went down 4, I think 4 is the Richardson. Maybe if you went down the Richardson, you could find some of that, but that was going to be in the opposite direction that we're heading. So just a little dialogue as I have the helmet cam on. You can experience some of the traffic that we are between Delta Junction and Fairbanks. We're still looking for a place to eat. The town of North Pole, which I've been to before, is going to be before Fairbanks, but I also believe Fairchild Air Force Base is even before that. So almost outside of every base, you're going to have some kind of community that we might be able to find something to eat. What we just went through, I think that was our second time we had to be behind a pilot car since Delta Junction. And I will say that if you are planning this is the norm during the summer. Motorcycles use extreme caution. All right, I guess that's talking to me and Greg. So, that's Greg in front of me. We've been through rougher patches, but we'll use extreme caution. It's a warmer day. Greg is geared up. He has his wet weather, cold weather gear on and his Hippo hands. Now, Hippo hands, there's an actual manufacturer called Hippo hands. If you look it up on Amazon, they're very pricey, like over $100. Greg found the ones that we had, which I thought were perfect, served the purpose, for I think we paid $13 or $14 on Amazon. But if you're interested in those handlebar hand covers that go onto the motorcycle that I was talking about in the previous video, just go on Amazon. What did you say? Greg said they're very good, and the manufacturer that we got, I believe, is Mayday. Like Mayday, Mayday, ship and help. But I think it's pretty sure it's called Mayday, and we only paid $13-14. They keep the cold and the wind and the wet off your hands. I don't see how a $100+ set of the same things are going to give you that much more performance. Now there is a degree, at least on my KLR, that I lost a little dexterity manipulating the turn signals and the ignition switch. But once again, these type of gloves are for long haul straightaways. I didn't really need my turn signal the whole time I had them on, so that was no big deal. And then I would just have to feel for the ignition switch a bit, but it wasn't like I was turning it on all the time. So just know that there's a degree of at least on my bike, a degree of dexterity, agility, manipulating your hand controls. No, the throttle and clutch was fine. Throttle, clutch, and front brake, it did not impede those at all. Not at all. I'm only saying your high and low beams, your horn, your turn signals, your kill switch, and your ignition button are the ones that were just kind of a pain to get to. All right, looks like we're moving right along. Hopefully we're going to find someplace to eat soon. We're both very hungry. We haven't eaten this morning, and and that's the other thing too. In T-O-K, that town, there were plenty of places to eat, and they were open. They were open early in the morning. So just depend on Delta Junction and anything, honestly. Going inside the visitor center, once again, taxidermied animals and some local honey and some skins and some crafts. But even if you don't go inside the visitor center, you don't have to wait for it. Take your pictures on the outside. There's plenty enough signage, completion of the Alcan Highway. And if the visitor center is closed when you get there for some reason, don't worry about it. There's nothing inside that you're missing out on. All right, take care, everybody. We're going to get moving. Bye.